Schalke, once a giant in German football, now find themselves in 13th place in the second tier of German football, drowning in debt. Relegations, sponsorship losses and the impact of COVID-19 have all taken their toll. It's heartbreaking to see such a storied club in this state, but that's where I come in. I'm here to lead Schalke through a dream rebuild, clearing the debt, earning promotion back to the Bundesliga, and yes, attempting to take them all the way to the top from second division back to Bundesliga and actually winning the entire Bundesliga as well. Let's make this journey together. Let's get started. So then, this is going to be them actually inside of the game. Now, Schalke, we all know who they are. They're a massive team over in Germany. Unfortunately, tons of big issues. We're talking riddled with debt. We're talking players leaving, manager sackings. We're talking the team going down into the Bundesliga too. And this season, they are not enjoying a good year at all. It is looking pretty grim, to be honest. Now, as a team, they've still got the great training facilities. They've got great youth facilities. The youth recruitment isn't even that bad. And despite being in debt, the owners are enjoying life at the club. Now, one thing that we have to remember about this team and have a little bit of respect for them is the fact they have won 7 Bundesliga titles, 1 Europa League, 5 Pokals, 3 Bundesliga 2 trophies, a German Super Cup, a German League Cup, and 2 Werder Brands Pokal. I think I'm going to butcher that, but they have won a lot of trophies. But of course, it was all up, and then a big down. So ever since that down, it's only really gone up a little bit, then all the way back down. Now, this team is a team that, I can't say I grew up watching, but we always knew who Schalke were. Now, in terms of the actual debt, it's not that pretty. We're talking £156 million worth of debt, which is not ideal at all. And obviously the aim of today is to clear this debt, even if it means we've got a little tiny bit left, but massive success, I would also accept that. But the big aim is to get this gone. In debt, we do not want to be seeing it. So going into the first season, of course, the last thing we're going to do is sign players. The main aim of this rebuild is to generate money through promotion, good league finishes, European placements, signing people on the free and potentially even selling them. That is going to be the aim of today's video. But looking at this team right now, it is not a fraction of the team that you remember from back in the day. I remember the Schalke team looking, with the likes of Draxler and them sorts of players, Naldo, for example. It has changed a fair bit to the point where I can't really pinpoint too many players. Other than Hoffman, obviously I'm very familiar with him, used him a fair bit in this game. Other than that, I don't know too many players. So we are pretty much going into this quite blindly. That's why I've gone with a 4-3-3, because you can't really mess up with a 4-3-3. And obviously the main aim, despite how we're doing in real life at the moment, would be to gain promotion back to the Bundesliga. Now, we are predicted to finish in 4th place. Now, realistically, we're not signing players, and we could even be in the situation where we've got people with contracts, a lot of players expiring in 2024. Can we even afford to keep them? That we don't know. For me, we need to try and get promoted in the first season, because that will generate some money, and hopefully that can help out a fair bit. But honestly, it's going to be quite a big ask. Let's get into season 1. Be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe. Once again, if you do want to take this save file and the tactic at the end of the video, you can head over to the Patreon and get all of these perks as well. You don't want to miss out. Hopefully I'll see you on over there. But let's get in to the end of season 1. I want to rebuild this club more than I ever have rebuilt anyone else. This team deserve it. We are going to start off with some very good news, because we have got promotion, and it was done with a mixture of wins, draws and losses. We do draw 9 games and of course lose 3 games as well, but we get the job done by 5 points, and even then we would have still got promoted. So a great season also coming out of this man here in Brian. Now, this guy is a player that does belong to us, so we are going to keep this guy, a decent Bundesliga player, which is very good considering we are now going to be playing in that top league. And he is a player that contributed so much in terms of the goals, the player of the matches, and I tell you what, we're not far off picking up the most clean sheets either. I guess a fair few, 8 is quite a fair bit, but it is going to be Ralph Farman, of course, a keeper that seems to have been about football for absolutely years, which he has been. A fantastic goalkeeper, more known from the FIFA days, to be honest. But I will say, this is a great first season. But what if I was to tell you this isn't the biggest miracle this year? Yeah, this happened. We're going to go over and look at it right now. We go over and win the Pokal, which was not to be expected. I'm going to talk about it right away because I can't quite believe what I'm seeing. We are talking about beating RB Leipzig 3-2, to clarify that. The semi-finals, we get past FC Köln. So far, that is 2 Bundesliga teams. The quarter-final, we beat Elfsberg, who I think are in the Bundesliga too, so that probably is to be expected. The third round, Hanover, again a team we probably should be beating. The second round, definitely should be beating them. And the first round, again, Osnabrück, we should be beating those. But to beat RB Leipzig in the final, that is a remarkable first season, and I think goes to show how good this tactic actually is, because the players we've got are decent, but they're not, you know, incredible by any means, but fair play to them. They've got the job done. Our striker has done really well with 32 goals. Our wide players 8 and 7, 11 and 6 as well. Midfield players, especially in Sagoon, he comes in there with 5 and 16. A great season from him. 8 and 6 there from Tempelman, a great season from him. In terms of the bench players, apart from Sela, who of course is one of our wide players, who actually is a third division quality player, probably won't be at the club too much more. He done okay. The rest of the players didn't really do loads of stuff, but at the end of the day, I'm not focused on a striker scoring 60 goals or a winger getting 20 assists. The main aim was to be competitive in this first season, try and push for a Bundesliga promotion, which we've now got, and we've also won the Pokal in the first season. And I would like to think this has done a fair bit for our finances. Let's go and see. We've got a very generous budget, which tells me we're doing something right. 6.3 million in terms of the transfer budget. And we have actually not really improved too much in the net debt. That is going to take probably, 5-6 years, maybe 7. It's going to take a long time, depending on what we win. But so far, we might still be in debt, but at least we can say we're winning trophies. We've not spent any money ourselves yet, and to be honest, even with this £6 million, I'm going to keep it quite humble. I'm going to try and save half of it, not spend. Let's get into Season 2. Obviously, we are going to have to improve a little bit, because this is not a Bundesliga team, let's just be honest, but I think we can bring in maybe 3-4 players for around about 4 million, 3.5 million, see who's on the market for free. Let's go and find out. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We are going to focus on bringing in free agents, because this way we've got to spend money on the wages, which hopefully aren't going to bankrupt us again, but we're not going to spend any money on direct outgoings in terms of transfers. Now, the first player is going to be Sotoris, I believe that's how you say that. He's going to come in actually as a good Bundesliga 2 player with the potential to become a decent Bundesliga player. But it is a player that done reasonably well, not incredible. We're not going to see any star players potentially in this rebuild because we haven't got the budget to do it, but he drops a 6.94. It's pretty consistent. He looks quite good, got the pace as well, which is quite good, and he cost me literally nothing. We're then going to go and do the same, and this player, unfortunately, he dropped an okay rating, only played 14 times, 3 assists, 1 goal. That is the only downside to this approach. You're not going to attract top players, but this is a player that added legs to the midfield, and when you're playing in so many competitions, you have to have the legs, and with a team like Schalke, the players you've got aren't the fittest anyway. They're going to get injured, they're going to get tired. You need to bring in players, and we've done what we could. We're then going to go over and also pick up Rayan Felipe. Now this guy, again, a decent Bundesliga 2 player. He done quite well. 10 goals is a decent amount, 2 assists, dropped to 6.89, and to be honest with you, despite being called a Bundesliga 2 player, he has got attributes of what I would argue to be a bit of a sort of mid-table Bundesliga player. Good acceleration, good pace, decent crossing, good composure, good finishing. Again, is he a world beater? No. Is he a player that cost me nothing and only on 13 grand a week? Yes. Lastly, we are also going to go over and pick up a centre-back, and probably the worst of the signings, not based off the average ratings, that was actually quite good, but he comes in on the free, he only plays 5 games, his attributes look pretty well balanced, but obviously just didn't really get into the team. Now, unfortunately, that is all we could do, because we also do lose one player here in Hong. He obviously is going to dip and go to the likes of Daejeon in South Korea, which is an interesting move, but there again, you know, he is Korean, so it does sort of make sense. But what I will say is, these 4 players is probably the first rebuild I've done this year where I can't be that excited about a transfer window. But this is the big ask to rebuild Schalke. But of course, we do find ourselves, of course, in that round of 16 of the Europa League. We're in the competition, and we are not going to go out easy. I will say we do get quite blessed with who we play. You look at the teams that we could have drew around. We get RC Lens, who we do beat 2-1 over 2 legs. We go into the quarterfinals. final against Rangers. I would argue probably a very, very good team, even with the teams around in this sort of pool, one of the better ones we could have got. We do beat them 4-2, which puts us into the semis where we beat Slavia Prague 4-0 over 2 legs, meaning we match up against Lazio, who batter Tottenham 5-1 in the Europa League final. Now, if we win this will be massive. Luckily for us, we got off to a very, very hot start in this game. I am talking going 1-0 up inside of 17 minutes, and look about that. For a little ball in, it's going to go into Keenan, who is going to make it 1-0. Unfortunately, when you play a team like Lazio, you're looking at the names that are on this pitch. They have got some big game players, and it is going to be Tati, who is going to go through and make it 1-1. And at this point, it was a little bit sort of like, what's going to happen? We do get given a penalty there, but still at this point, I know what Lazio can do, and it is what they done. They get back into the game literally in the 85th minute. I don't know what we're doing there with the ball. It is a decent ball in, a good header, but when you need a hero to save Schalke, to win something big, to bring some money in, hype the fans up a little bit, a hell of a ball in there, and what a finish from Keenan once again. Meaning we are going to be your European winners. We are going to win the Europa League 3-2 over Lazio. That will generate some money. We also are going to be runners-up in that German Super Cup. A bit of a battering against Bayern, a bit of a battering, but it's okay. The actual league table, we are going to actually be very, very impressive. We would have got Champions League football regardless of winning the Europa League or not, because we do finish in 4th place. I will say, tied on points with RB Leipzig, so a very, very close situation to not being in the top 4. But let's just run it back a little bit, okay? Because this is our first season in this league. We shouldn't be getting top 4. I think I've discovered one of the more broken 4-3-3s, because this tactic is working wonders. Now, I will say, obviously there is 8 draws in there, and there are 8 losses, including a 5-1 loss to Stuttgart. But considering it's our first year in the Bundesliga, so far we've got top 4, won the Europa League, the Pokal's still to come. And we are going to start off with, you know, a bit of a bad start. Let me just say, in the Pokal final once again, it is an awful start. I've got to be honest with you, 14 minutes on the clock. We were nowhere near sort of at the races for this game. But eventually, inside of 66 minutes, we fight back. And this is where the game sort of swung a little bit. Because after this goal went in, I figured that it's pretty much anyone's to win. And with a little bit of confidence here, playing out from the back, using the wide area, using the right-hand side, into Sigwin, through into the middle, a great first-time finish to go 2-1 up inside of 77 minutes. We then fell. That's what happened. We then fell. A great ball through, and to be honest with you, I can't expect, you know, too much from these group of lads. They're playing in so many games. We do concede. They tie it up. But once again, the magic of the last minute. 95 minutes played. 95. Trophy 2, meaning we won the Europa League and the Pokal in the same season. In Season 2, our first season in the Bundesliga, we also get top 4. That is an incredible season. And in terms of money, what is it? I mean, what it's done is an absolute miracle. We've got £58 million available to spend. Our debts and loans has been halved, not overly halved. It's gone down by 100 million. So our debts are being absolutely sliced through. And we have now got money which we can go and spend. And do you know what? I'm not going to go out and spend all £58 million, but considering we're a team now that are clearly growing at some rate, I am going to invest a bit back into the club, into the team, should I say, sorry, because we can keep this top 4 finish, and now we're playing in the Champions League, so we sort of have to spend money. Now, I am going to quickly just say, these batch of players have massively overachieved in this tactic. We've got the likes of Merkin, who is our left back, contributing with a total of 17 assists. He is not a bad player at all, but when you look at him, he is a leading Bundesliga 2 player, a name that I guarantee you never have used before. Sometimes the smaller players, they turn up in the right tactic. Also, this lad in CM on the attacking role, 18 and 12, 10 and 8 as well coming in from Templeman again. We have got consistency out of everybody. Even Felipe, our backup winger, I believe. Let's go and have a look at him. 16 goals. On the left, up front, obviously the star boy from last season. We have brought in some real good players here, and we've spent literally nothing. So genuinely, this is going so well. Now, I was expecting it to be a little bit harder in terms of maybe the league. I was expecting maybe a top 10 finish, maybe an 11th, 12th place finish, but being in the top 4 has obviously generated money. You win the Europa League, money, Pokal, money, Super Cup is what it is, but so far we've also not had to sell anyone. We've only lost one player, we've spent literally nothing. Let's get into the next window. Let's try and we'll aim to spend about 40. That'll be the aim. First player we're going to spend big money on for us is going to be Christos. Now he's going to come in from Slavia Prague. He comes in for 12 million and instantly hits the ground running. 8 goals, 8 assists, drops a very good average rating as well. And although it's a big amount to spend on one player with Schalke, this is the sort of players that I want to be bringing in for the future. He's going to be with us for absolutely ages. And worst comes to worst, we have to sell him. We can ×4 our money. Another player that looks very, very good for the price tag is going to be Comrade. He's going to come in, and I tell you what, for 3.9 million, I will take this return. 6 goals, 4 assists, drops to 6.94. It's pretty decent. Again, a name that I never usually would sign, and I'm going to be 100% honest. I went off 3 factors: pace, crossing, and okay finishing. And without being disrespectful, he's decent. He's not amazing. He'll get the job done. Hopefully. A player that I really like in real life, a Leipzig man, is going to be Mariba. Now, he is going to come in for 7.5 million. He plays a fair few games, 3 goals, 3 assists, drops a 7 rating. It's okay. I mean, the real key factor to signing him was the fact that he is quite well-rounded. What I didn't expect was him to pick up so many injuries, and as you can see, he's a little bit on the down. And lastly, a person that if you watch my live streams back in the day with RB Salzburg, he was our bagsman, and I will say that is not paid off for us in this rebuild. I got him because I recognised the name. He was only on the market for like 4.5 million, and I tell you what, it's not the same man that I knew at Salzburg. I'll be honest with you, I always correct and be honest when I am wrong. This was not a good signing. Hopefully, this will be better. Now, I will say, this is a goalkeeper that literally cost me nothing, and he was brought in originally for sort of just an option, but he played a ton of games, dropped a decent rating. He did concede more goals than what he played games, so that's never a great start, but for season 1, it will do. We're then going to pick up Alahea. I believe you say that. He's going to come in from Westerlo. Now, this guy did do very well. 12 goals, 1 assist. The average rating isn't the best considering when you factor in the stats, but he comes in on the free. He's on 20 grand a week, and if you actually just look at him as an overall player, he can play in 3 positions. He's still only 25. He's quick. Dribbling's there, the crossing can do a little bit of work, but on the free, you can't grumble. And the last player we pick up is going to be Finn Becker. Now, this is going to be a player that I really do like the look of. He played a ton of games. He only picked up 2 assists, dropped to 6.74, but as an overall picture, he's just quite well-rounded, and in terms of, well, players that cost me nothing, I had to bring him in, so I've spent a total of 28 million. Now, in my other rebuilds, you know I spend big money, but in this rebuild, the main aim is to clear the debt, alongside of winning trophies. Now, if that means I've got to have a bit of a longer approach to this rebuild, I will do it. I don't want to see the comments saying, Josh, why don't you spend 50-odd million, because it's going to put us back where we, you know, in the same issue we come from. I want to put money, keep the money into the club, and spend little and often. And this window, hopefully has kept us at least in the top 4. We're going to start off by winning the biggest trophy ever in the European South American Club Challenge. We're going to be ATP 2-0. Also going to lift the Pokal again, which is every season we have won it. We have literally won it every season. 4-0 over Freiburg. But they may as well just give us this every single season. German Super Cup, we can't quite get the hold of how to play in that, I don't think, because Bayern beat us again. But at the end of the day, when the only team you're playing is Bayern, let's not be too critical. UEFA Super Cup, I'm not going to lie, I would have liked to win it purely to say that I've won it, but when you're playing Man City, similar to Bayern, you can only expect so much. One thing I am happy with though, and it is quite unique to say this because we didn't obviously win it, we get knocked out in the round of 16 of the Champions League, meaning we must have either done well in the league phase, we didn't, we would have went into the playoffs, I would imagine. How do you even say that? Knock-off playoff round? We beat Marseille 3-1, so we didn't do horrific in the Champions League. One thing we did do horrific in though, and I am going to really be critical, is the league. We are going to drop down all the way into 9th place. Now, this might be where I should have spent more money. Maybe I was in the wrong, but at the end of the day, I just think don't spend massive all the time, bring in little and often, and eventually you'll push yourself up the table. Now, I think this goes to show how much of a miracle that first season in the Bundesliga actually was. This is the reality, I think. Now, we do still get European football. I'm going to be honest, I think that's through the Pokal, I'm pretty sure. So at least we've got that to sort of grasp onto. But realistically, in terms of players, the only player that really done anything in this league is going to be this lad. And he's a guy that we've not even really talked about. But saying that, look at the mental attributes. He is some player. But I mean, as an overall season, maybe this is the usual. Last season was very good, winning the Europa League and the Pokal and the top four. Maybe I got a little bit too far ahead of myself, but I mean, I doubt the budget's going to be that good from this year. Okay, let me just reverse that. It's going to be 107 million. Okay, we've cleared the debt. Okay, something's happened here. I imagine new owners, or maybe it is because we are back into the Europa League. We only had 50 million debt from last season. So the debt has been dealt with, but I'm quite stubborn when it comes to these videos. I now want to win the league. I'm not just going to end the video because, one, Schalke deserve more than this still. I am going to carry on and win this Bundesliga title. Now, we have got 107 million, and with the debt being a little bit less, let's say, aggressive, I am going to spend fairly big and bring in some pretty big names without putting the team back into big debt. Now, in terms of the actual players, let's get real, let's get a little bit brutal, okay? Because these players are not going to win me a Bundesliga title. They can get me top four, we've seen that, but realistically, the midfield is probably where we are at our strongest. The goalkeeper and the back line aren't going to win you a title. A few players in the front line, for example, this lad, might play a small part in getting it done. Other than that, I will say, looking at these stats, I mean, our top goal scorer, for example, has got 18 goals. I don't think I've ever won a league title with 18 goals. So we need to spend big, I think, on the attack and the defence. The midfield's okay for now. Obviously, this guy is a very standout player, our most expensive signing. Also, Mariba, a fantastic player, but we are not going to win a league title like this. Let's go and spend part or all of this 107 million. We also are going to generate some extra money on top of that because we are going to sell Ratkov. And actually, I said it was a bad sign, and it was, but it's a good business move. We almost double our money. And the player that I will not attempt to say his name again because I will butcher it, the player that come in on the free, we sell for 6.5 million. So that is pure cash flow. Right, I promised big names, did I? And the first one is going to be one of my Bundesliga favourites. It is going to be Konrad Laimer. Now, he comes in, costing me literally nothing, and instantly slots into the team with 29 appearances and drops a 7.07. Now, this guy is a player that's valued at £50 million. So, even if he doesn't play that well, he did play well, we could do a very similar situation to the player we just showed and make a lot of money. But to be honest with you, he is 30, but he still offers a lot. He's a good player. Also, I'm going to pick up a very, very, very strong goalkeeper on the free. That is going to be Niklas Hedl. He comes in and, as you can see, plays a ton of games, does a little bit better than the previous goalkeeper, drops a 6.94, and once again, look at the value. It's a free £10 million. He's got good attributes, though, so to be honest with you, he will not be simply brought in to be sold. Last free agent is going to be Jose Marsa. He is going to be a decent centre-back and DM. He plays 33 games, to be fair, gets an assist and drops a 6.88. I will say he played a lot of games at centre-back, so for a centre-back, you've got the tackling, you've got the pace. He's not world-class, but once again, he costs me nothing and he's an option. And do you know what? Once again, I don't want to keep saying this, but you can even sell him for 10 million. Sometimes when you're at these sorts of clubs, you have to bear that in mind. Our first paid signing of the window is going to be Brian. He comes in from Borussia Mönchengladbach. He comes in for 12 million, and I tell you what, a decent return. 7 goals, 7 assists, a 7.10 average rating, and this player is also incredibly useful because he can play on the left, on the right, through the middle, up front. He's got the pace, he's got the dribbling. Finishing and composure would be technically his only weakness, but even that, it's not horrific. A bit more of an expensive signing is going to be Christopher. He's going to come in from Genk for 17 million, and very similar to the previous player, I like what I'm seeing. 8 goals, 5 assists, a decent return in the average rating as well. And this guy, again, very useful useful, can play on the right, can play on the left, not really up front, although it says he can. I personally wouldn't play him there, but he has got great agility, great dribbling. He just looks like a very technical player and someone who I think will thrive in the German league. And once again, yeah, we spend 17 million. Look at the value now. Another signing, and a very cheap signing considering he actually looks very, very good at centre-back and left-back, is going to be Panzu. He comes in for £3 million, near £4 million. He plays a ton of games, pretty average rating, but I will say again, these players that I never usually would sign, it's why I like to do rebuilds like this, because you actually find a lot of players that you think, do you know what? I should have signed him ages ago, because they get overlooked, these players. They're really, really good additions. For a big, big signing, and I mean a big, big signing, we are going to pick up Sil Dilia. I believe so you say that. He is going to come in from FC Bayern for 34 million. He plays almost every game, 4 goals, 6.95. Apart from the rating not being where I wanted to see it really be at, he is a fantastic centre-back and right-back. He has got incredible mental stats, great tackling, he's quite quick as well, a leading Bundesliga player, and I tell you what as well, despite spending very big on him in 34 million, his value has already shot up. So it's a big investment, one that I hope has paid off, but do you know what? We've got to take risks. We have to take risks. So I also brought in Alexander Pavlovic. He comes in from Bayern, of course, a player we have signed in previous rebuilds. He drops a 7.10, 5 goals, 7 assists out of 30 appearances. He is very good for the midfield. If you can probably tell, I'm trying to sign people that can play either in at least 2 positions, but preferably 3. This can, you know, he can play 2. He can play DM, he can play centrally, and if you trained him, you could also get away playing him up here, in my opinion. But for us, he can sit deep and he can play make from that area. Now, this is by far our biggest window. We have 2 outgoings. We spent 93 million, which is a fair bit of money for Schalke. And now I'm hoping with some of these names, Conrad Leimer, Hedl, these lads down here, I'm hoping we can be back up in the top 4. Let's go and find out. Still can't quite figure out the German Super Cup. It's going to be another loss. 3-0. History book out, because the first time in 4 seasons we have failed to win the Pokal. We're going to fall to Mainz in the semi-final. Did they go on to win it? As a little interesting fact, that we don't know. Good run in the Europa League, but unfortunately we don't win it. But I tell you what, it's a good recovery in terms of European football, from going out with it to going back into it, getting to another final. Yes, we lose the final, but do you know what? 2 final appearances in a European competition, it's not bad going, is it? Not really. Not for 4 years with Schalke. This is the main aim, because we are back into the top 4 of German football with FC Köln, Leipzig and Bayern. Dortmund down into 8th place. Now, despite the downside being, apart from the likes of Hedl and also Bonsa, we haven't got too many players that are in the stat lines really high up. For example, none of the goal scorers are going to be there, but we're scraping out the results. We won 23 games out of 34, which is actually quite good, to be honest. Obviously, we're quite some points off FC Bayern, but looking at the bigger picture, we can be happy with this season. It's another top 4 finish, 2 final appearances, but of course, we've got to win the league. Now, for any Schalke fans watching, or for anyone that likes nostalgia, I've done a little treat for you. Now, this is more for the look, because I hope that you do enjoy the videos, and hopefully you appreciate this, because I have brought back Julian Draxler as the director of football. I know it's a bold move, but if you look down here, he played here for 14 years. He is a club legend, and he is now the director of football. Come on, it's a bit of heritage. Now, in terms of money, by the way, going into the next season, we've got 86 million. The debts and loans is a little bit creeping back, but this is not really that serious, because this can be cleared after another season of football, as long as we don't go too crazy with the transfers. Now, in terms of what this team done in season 4, based off the stats, we can see again our top goal scorer, 15 goals. One thing I've noticed about this rebuild is we've never really had a striker, apart from the first season really, which was an easier league, that has lit up the goal scoring category. So I might try and bring in a bit of a bagsman, a bit of a proven goal scorer, and turn away from the sort of free agents a little bit. But overall, considering this is my first time ever rebuilding a team in serious financial tatter, I think we've done quite well. I mean, in terms of this, we can actually go into the overview. We're winning trophies, we're slowly rebuilding the squad as well, and the debt is looking pretty much dealt with. Let's get in to season 5 First off though, let's do some transfers. Right then, so signing one is going to be the addition of Aaron. He is going to come in from Chelsea, an Argentinian centre-back. One of our weaknesses last season was how good we were at the back. And you know what? He comes in and he does okay. I'm not going to say he's going to be a decider in winning the Bundesliga, because I don't think he delivered that well in terms of dropping a 7.4, for example. But if you look at the attributes, it justifies the price tag. 15 acceleration, 13 pace, 16 stamina. The decisions are there, good positioning, good tackling, the wage isn't that bad as well, and he's only 24. I think that's quite a good signing. Next up, and not a cheap player, especially when you look at where he's playing, are we really in the position to spend 30 million or 24 million on a wing-back? I would say yes, because he comes in, he nearly puts up 10 assists, drops a 7.14, and considering this is a player who had a little stint in Germany as well, that did play a factor into why I signed him. He can clearly hack the league. He's just been at Madrid as well, despite not playing a game. He's earned the move somehow. He's quick, he's got great crossing, and we can actually go into this season now with quite a good aggressive left back. You've signed Matty's Tell as well. You need someone to supply him, and he has delivered. 19 goals, 3 assists, 7.11. This is a Bundesliga winning sort of player. If there's going to be an attacker that can do it, I have won multiple Bundesliga titles with him in the team. So I'm partly confident we can at least finish second. I want to go and find out right now. That's exactly what we have done. We have won the Bundesliga title in Season 5 with Schalke, and it goes to show you've got a player now actually competitive in the goals. In Matty's Tell, our goalkeeper joint with the clean sheets, that is remarkable to see as well. Other than that, no real massive standout performances, but just look at the squad now. When you've got the goals coming in, 28 from him, this man in midfield as well with 17, then there is a massive drop-off, but all it took was 2 players to really cook. Conrad Lima as well doing great. The rest of the competitions weren't too pretty. The Pokal, a second round exit. I think our time's done in the Pokal now, because we have won it too many times. And the Champions League, another round of 16 exit. Did we get out of the league phase? Just about. We are going to go and beat teams like Inter Milan, Ajax. We do lose against Madrid 4-1, but close games against City and Napoli. So, do you know what? I tell you what, for a rebuild over 5 years, obviously it could have gone over, but we have won the league with them. We'll go to the finances. I'm happy with that. They've literally got nothing. 6 million, virtually nothing. You've got a budget of, well, you've got a serious budget. 85 million, you don't spend that money, that gets cleared. The debt has been dealt with. We have rebuilt this team, not only back into the Bundesliga, back to Bundesliga champions, Pokal champions, Europa League champions. We have done it all with this team, and I feel like we've left you a very good team. My favourite bit, the front three. I'll be honest, the front three is very, very good. But if you do want to carry on this rebuild again, you can carry it on over on the Patreon. Not only do you get this rebuild file and this tactic, you get all of my tactics, all of my rebuild files, and multiple other perks as well. And also for this entire month, there is 20% off. So make sure you go on over and get involved. But do you know what? I'm going to say it. Probably my funnest rebuild, and hopefully you can tell that, because this has been a challenge with not spending serious amounts of money. I quite like it. Is there any other debt-riddled clubs you want to see get a rebuild? Let me know in the comments. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.